Yeah. And I think we're live.
I reckon.
Live. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trotec UK Live, our first ever online laser exhibition. My name's Sian. I'm the marketing director for Trotec UK, and with me is Brian, who's sales director. Morning,
good morning.
Brian.
Good morning.
If you're watching, why don't you let us know where you're tuning in from? You should find a live chat function if you're looking at the YouTube. We've got our first good mornings. We do have viewers, Brian.
Good morning, Moray.
It's a good start. Hi, guys.
We're up to 43 now already, so good. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Keep telling us where you're from, and great to have so many people on board already.
Yes.
Sorry, Sean, I've interrupted you.
That's all right. You can do all talking if you like, Brian. I'll be much more comfortable. This is the first sort of event of this scale that we've done here in the UK, so quite exciting, and we're really pleased to have you all here. So yeah, I'm Sian. I'm in the marketing team at Trotec UK, and I'm beaming in from my spare room in Sunderland, as we're all working from home at the moment, and not too far from the headquarters over in Bolton in the northeast of England. And you're down in the southwest today?
I'm down in the sunny southwest, yes. Also, well, I'm working from my dining room. But what you'll see is most of the guys have made it into our showrooms. Everything's been done in a COVID-safe way for the next 3 days. You'll see screens up when there's more than one person in the same showroom. But most of the time, the guys will be working from different showrooms. So you'll have one person operating a machine, maybe in Dublin, another one in the northeast or Loughborough or wherever. And hopefully, it'll keep it nice and engaging for you.
Yeah, happening.
We're assuming that most people know Trotec, but we guess probably not everybody does. So we've got a very short presentation, and what we really don't want to do for the next 3 days is give you death by PowerPoint. So all the PowerPoints that we're doing will generally be brief and just allowing us to guide our way through and remember the messages that we wanted to get across, rather than just PowerPoint. We're going to do as much live as we possibly can, and hopefully that'll make it more engaging. You may have to bear with us when we have internet issues, which is inevitable at some point, and there'll bound to be the odd mistake here and there. But hey, it's all live, and we're not professional broadcasters, so we're going to give it our best shot. So right now, I'm just going to quickly share my screen, just give you a little bit on us and who we are for those people that don't know. But like I said, we're going to keep this brief. And just for housekeeping purposes, if you double click on it on the PowerPoint, it should bring it up in size, make it easier to see.
Yeah, there's a little icon, should be in the bottom right-hand corner of the YouTube video, that can make it full screen. You'll still see us in the side, unfortunately. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't get rid of us. We'll be here. Anyway, a little bit about Trotec UK. So we are part of the Austrian company, Trotec, Trodat being part of the group. And as a business, we're located in 90 countries, approximately 700 employees, lots and lots of showrooms worldwide, so that we can get our people. Sorry, I've just noticed one of the questions. Is that guy an actor from Hollyoaks? I don't watch Hollyoaks. I don't know.
You're in the wrong part of the world for Hollyoaks.
Definitely.
Is there a soap opera based down in the southwest?
Not as far as I know. It would be good though. It would be good. So that's thrown me completely. So we have a huge client base, which includes many household names, companies like JCB. We're in some huge organisations, a lot of which we can't talk about for obvious reasons. 2019 global sales exceeded 140 million, so it's a decent sized business. So most importantly for the majority of the people watching, the UK side of the business. So we have 6 regional offices, all with regional managers, so sales managers in each. And with most of the offices, there's a dedicated engineer, so technical support side from each office as well. So we're in Stirling in Scotland, the Northeast, which is our UK head office. We have a place in Dublin, in Loughborough, Yate in the southwest, and Guildford for the southeast. So our stretch is fairly well wide. Now, of course, we're a sales organisation, but as a sales organisation, you have to be able to look after the kit that you put out there. So we also have 9 mobile technicians currently. So these are the guys that are out and about doing servicing, doing installs, doing repairs if necessary. They're your man on the ground. As well as that, there's a tech support number that you can ring if you have any problems, where we have generally 3 people doing software updates, doing first level tech support, and generally just organising the rest of the guys that are out in the field. To go with all of the machinery side of it, we have our own consumables department. So we sell a lot of 2-colour laminates, as well as a whole host of other things, from glittery drinks bottles to leather, laserable leather. Pardon, Shah? There you go, Shah. Difficult to see from that that size of screen. We sell rubber, we sell MDF plywood, all sorts of stuff. So we can be a bit of a one-stop shop for you as well. And then we have also a logistics team. So these are the people that handle everything that happens between ordering a machine and it being delivered. So delivery methods, because some people have stairs to deal with and these machines are not light. Sometimes it has to be a Saturday or whatever the issue is, but people are there specifically just to make sure that all installations go smoothly as is absolutely possible. And this all goes to our final goal, which is, as a business, is to make our customers more profitable. And that's the ethos from our Austrian head office right through all the subsidiaries. The end game is always to make sure that our customer base can be as profitable as possible. So that's the end of that. I'll stop sharing.
I've just seen a comment come in, Brian. We couldn't have timed it better, and we definitely haven't paid this man to say this. But Graham's commented saying he's got Florin there at the moment. Florin's one of our service team, changing the tube under Trocare, and he's doing a wonderful job as usual. So, so it's nice to see we've got happy customers tuning in this morning. Yeah, absolutely. So, Sean, tell us what we've got coming up, because these people haven't logged in to watch you and me have a chat. I'll jump straight in. Okay, sorry. I will share my screen, because what I've done, what you can see here is the full schedule. And I'm just going to explain to you a little bit about how you can access all of these sessions. But the fact that you're here means hopefully you received an email this morning with the links to the AM and PM sessions. So this morning, link that you're watching right now will give you access to all of these AM sessions all the way up until midday. So yeah, we've got straight after this, Johnny and Trevor are going to beam in from our Loughborough showroom for glass and ceramic technology comparison. That's quite a common question, so that will be interesting for those of you who are not sure in the differences. And then we've got, this is a session that I'm really looking forward to, Andrew and Chris over in, well, actually Andrew's in Dublin and Chris is in Bolden, near to us in the northeast of England, showing us lots of different samples that can be done, some inspiration for you to come up with different ideas of what can be done with the lasers. And then ending the AM session, Chris has got a double shift today. They'll be looking at the rotary attachment and how you can perhaps expand your product portfolio using one. That's another really interesting one. And this afternoon, we've got special guests as well. We've got Brian's already here. We've got Ben joining us from Blue Star Leasing, talking about financing a laser. So if you haven't got a laser yet, or you're looking to add a new one, this could be an interesting session for you. Alex is going to cover photographic engraving, and then we've got Trevor, who you'll see in a minute in this morning's first session. He's ending the day with a very special guest, Hannah Nunn, who's a customer of ours and makes some really beautiful lamps and lighting with our lasers. So she's going to give us a tour of her workshop, and yeah, like, you can ask her questions, she'll share her experiences. So you'll just need to use the different link to access the PM sessions, but for now you'll see all of these AM sessions on the link that you're tuned into. And the same happens for data. I'm not going to go through the whole schedule for you. There's a link underneath the video in the description to this full schedule, but you'll see there's 3 days jam-packed with loads of different topics. So no matter your business, no matter your laser experience, there really should be something there that interests you, and you can dip in and out as and when you choose. We really hope you join us live, because as you've already seen, the live chat does add something to the event, and it's interactive. We will look out for your questions and answer them as and when we can. But don't worry, if you miss any sessions that you were interested in, or you want to re-watch them, we're going to record everything, so it'll be there for you to come back and check. And each session will be time-stamped within the recording. So although you might have a 3-hour PM session and you want to watch the last webinar, that's fine. We're going to timestamp it. You can just click that link and it will hop straight to it. So it's all going to be there for you in the future.
And lovely to see we've had a big shout to Mr. Dudley in our Dublin showroom, who literally bent over backwards for our company before Christmas. So great to hear. Thank you. I didn't realise he was that nimble, but that's great. Fantastic. Always good to get any feedback. So yeah. I think, should we jump forward and bring in Trev and Johnny now, Sean? And as we're up to time for them to come in. Right, I'll bring these guys in. Handsome pair of devils that they are.
I'm back.
Morning, guys. How are we doing?
Morning. How are we doing?
Very well, thank you.
We've got a nice audience here.
Fantastic. Yeah, great to see. Some lovely comments coming through already too. So thank you very much indeed. It's always good to get good feedback on what we're doing.
So you're going to be doing a session on ceramic versus glass lasers.
We are indeed, yes.
Whilst Trevor and Johnny are both in our Loughborough showroom, you can see that we do have a screen up in between them.
Impenetrable barrier just here.
They are friends. It's purely a COVID precaution. It's not to keep them apart. So we will drop out of this and leave you in the very safe hands of Johnny and Trevor, and look forward to seeing everybody again later on.
Have fun, guys.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Right, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Johnny Green from Trotec Laser, and a very, very warm welcome to Trotec Live. We're very excited to bring you 3 full days of exciting laser-related content, during which we're going to be talking about laser technology, laser applications, various tips and tricks, and maybe, just maybe, have a little bit of fun along the way too. So many thanks to Brian and Sharon for the introduction. We're here in our sunny Loughborough showroom with my good friend and colleague Trevor Stevenson. And today we're going to be talking to you about the differences between glass tube and ceramic lasers, one of the more common questions we get asked. So, and why you might want one rather than the other for various tasks. So let's get on with it. I'll pass you over to Trev, who's got a presentation to run through, and then we'll fire up some lasers and show you what they do. So, so over to you, Trev.
Thanks, Johnny. Morning, everybody. Got a quick PowerPoint presentation just to obviously talk about the highlights and the features of both machines. Not too many slides, and what we'll also show you is the machines in action. So the idea of this presentation is to give you the heads up on both types of laser source, what the benefits are for both of them, and obviously look at which is the right one for your business. Just hide that. So in the first instance, the 2 machines that we're going to be using today are going to be the Q500, which is our glass tube that we're going to be using, and Johnny's going to be operating that. I'll be using the Speedy 400, which is a ceramic tube. Both of these machines are 120 watts. When we look at the difference between the 2 machines, cost is always going to be an implication that we've got to take into account. So the glass tube has got a lower entry price, so it's more accessible. Ceramic tube is a higher price, but it's more than likely going to give you a faster payback because of the speeds that we can reach and the productivity that we can produce with this machine. In terms of size, typically glass tube machines tend to be a little bit bigger than ceramic source, just because you need a bigger footprint for the chiller, for the compressors, sometimes the extractors. Whereas on the Speedies, what we've got is a more compact footprint. They're air cooled, so we don't need a chiller. The compressor inside the Speedies is also built in as well. In terms of the laser source lifespan, glass tube replacement can vary greatly depending on the work that people are using it through, how much they are pushing that power source in terms of for output, also the temperatures and things that you're keeping it in. So typically, somewhere between 1 to every 2 years, you might be looking at replacing a glass tube. Some people more, some people less. With a ceramic tube, we would say somewhere between 6 to 8 years, and we've got some people whose laser tube has lasted even longer than that. In terms of technical support, if we talk broadly about glass tube lasers, hang on a second, my screen just slipped. Johnny, I think you've assaulted my screen.
Sorry. I've jumped the gun a little bit there, haven't I? Apologies.
Just a touch. So where was that? That's right, yeah. In terms of technical support, with typical Chinese glass tube imports, there's very little support except for kind of Facebook groups, everything like that. We as a manufacturer offer a wide range of comprehensive support for our glass tube machines. When you look at the ceramic side of the market, there are third-party distributors and dealers. However, again, we are the manufacturer, so we can support every machine that we put out into the market. When we look at applications, if we look at engraving, the Q series with it being a glass tube machine is going to be relatively slow. We're going to be engraving at somewhere between 300 and 500 millimeters a second. I think the demonstration that we're doing today, we've set it up at 400 millimeters a second. With the Speedy, I'm going to be using the Speedy 400, which is capable of engraving at 4.3 meters a second. Because we've got a more sophisticated tube, we can fire the laser more often, therefore we can get movement from left to right quicker. In terms of cutting capabilities, glass tube is absolutely fine for this. It's going to be able to cut reasonably fast, depending on the wattage and the material that we're using. Thinner materials are always going to cut faster than thick materials, and that's what we'll be doing as well with the Q series. With the Speedy series, we can get even more speed out of it. We've got a better quality beam, a finer beam, plus we've also got better mechanics behind it and electronics for the motion control that's going to allow us to navigate straights faster and obviously curves quicker and smoother. When we look at the beam quality and accuracy, glass tube is always a little bit difficult because of the different range of tubes that are available. So sometimes that beam width that's being developed is somewhere between 3, maybe 5 millimeters, depending on the quality of the tube. We've also got less control over it in the lower power regions. So that can make it a little bit more difficult sometimes with really delicate materials. With the ceramic laser tube, we've got a better quality laser tube. That's going to be generating a beam of about 2 millimeters wide. Once we put that through typically like a 2-inch lens that we're going to use today, that goes going to give us a beam width of about 0.2 of a millimeter. So we get higher accuracy, repeatable, and we've also got a lot of control over the power, both at the top end, the middle, and in the lower regions, so we can be really delicate. In terms of the mechanics and the motion control, on the glass tube machines, it's usually stepper motors, just because that's the kind of helping keep the cost down. However, the Q500 has servos, so that just gives us more speed, more control, especially with things like corners and curves and circles. The Speedy machine has got servo motors, and it's also got OptiMotion. Again, higher end mechanics, higher end electronics that allow us to navigate all of this through with better, speedier results. When we look up both machines and compare, the Q series has got a 120 watt laser. With the Speedy, we've got between 30 and 120 watts. On the work area of the machine that we're using today, it's 1300 by 900. The Speedies are available from 610 by 305 up to 1016 by 610, which is the Speedy 400. Both machines are using Job Control, which is our software. So that allows us to go straight from something like CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator straight into the machine. We've not got to convert the artwork into another type of file. The Speedy series have also got access to Ruby, which is a new software we've launched that we'll probably cover later on in more detail. Both machines are built for running as fast and reliable and as durable as they can be. However, the Speedy is a faster machine, no two ways about it, and we get that repeatability from it. With the Q series, there currently aren't any accessories available, but there are some in the pipeline for coming. Whereas with the Speedy, there's a wide range of accessories and options available, things like Job Control Vision, which is a camera system. We've also got Programmable Z, which we'll touch on a little bit in a while in part of the demo, as well as a range of tables, etc. And there is going to be a focus with Brian and my colleague Jamie, I believe tomorrow morning, which is going to focus on the Speedy 400 in depth. And it'll give you a complete walk around.
Yeah, so 11:20 tomorrow morning for those interested in that.
With both machines, obviously, as a manufacturer, we can offer a comprehensive technical service and support from our tech team, obviously up in the northeast and the engineers, but also part of mine and Johnny's remit and Brian's remit is to look after customers and help them. It can be optimizing files, it can be support working with materials. One of the things that we've also got as a resource is a guy called Alex Beckingham, who you're going to see over the next couple of days, and he's our application engineer. So he's hugely experienced, hugely knowledgeable, and as a team, we lean on Alex quite heavily just for his knowledge with some of the applications.
Certainly do, and he's on this afternoon for his photo webinar as well. So thanks to Lothian Woodworks for pointing that out earlier on today.
So what we'll do now is I'm going to hand over to Johnny, because he's going to just talk you around the glass tube machine and the demonstration that we've set up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Trev. That was a fabulous presentation. There's loads of great information there. Just to say a few quick hellos before we crack on. So hello to Ace Toys, hi to Sophia, and hello to Alan, and of course hello to the Wooden Shape Company, who were again gushing with praise for us today. And just to back up what you were saying about the long life of the ceramic tubes, so we've got Speedy 100 still firing away after 6 years and doing a great job. So a very long-lasting and reliable technology. So let me, at the correct time now, actually add my screen to the stream. So let me, there we go. So when we're sending jobs to the laser machine, we need a graphic software. Typically, we'll use CorelDRAW. CorelDRAW is a great bit of software for this, so we'll just fire that through without any further delay. The reason we like to use CorelDRAW is because it's very flexible and you can import nearly 100 different file types into it. So we've got our settings here. We will just choose the wood setting that we have for it. So we've got the power and the speed of the machine there. Just hit print like you would any other printer. And if our software is not already running, at this point is when it fires up. So then we can just bring that into the working area. We can use the cursor of the machine as a snap point for it. And then we just need to hit the play button down here. And off it goes. Let me just swap my camera so you can see what the laser's doing. And there you see we're just going back and forth over the material line by line. When we're engraving, we'll be doing what's called a raster fill, so filling it line by line like a printer would. So we're going back and forth. This is the Q500. So as Trev says, this is a glass tube machine. It has 120 watt glass tube laser, and it will cut 15 mil or so of most common materials. It has a servo motor motion control system, which means that It has a fast, smooth operation, and maximum traverse speed on this machine is 2 meters a second. So it's much faster than the more basic R series of machines, which are basically the same size chassis and platform. So it'll just work its way down the workpiece, and then we'll pass you back to Trevor to talk a little bit more about the Speedy 400. So.
Thanks, Johnny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to swap over so you can see my screen. It's going to come as no surprise. I'm going to use exactly the same file. What I am going to do is I'm just going to change my camera just so you can see inside the machine. So now, obviously, you can see Johnny's machine running, and we've got the Speedy 400 up and running. So I'm just going to treat this in exactly the same way. I've already got the artwork. 300 by 200 wide, using CorelDRAW. I'm going to go File, Print, using the Trotec engraver, and then we've got the parameters that we're going to be using for this breadboard. So I'll just open this up just to show you a little feature. So I've already got my material set up. I'm going to use black for the engrave. I'm going to use 100% power, 80% speed. I'm only going to do this in one pass. I'm going to leave the air assist on, but I did mention earlier that we can use a programmable Z. So what that's going to do is that's going to just lower the machine slightly, just so I'm running slightly out of focus for some more contrast. And I'm doing that at 4 millimeters.
Do you want to quickly explain what the air assist does, Trev, while you're there?
Well, the air assist,
might not be aware on that.
The air assist we predominantly use for cutting, but what it's going to do is just going to put some compressed air just past the lens to keep everything nice and clean. I'm running this file at 333 dpi, so we just click on Job Control, click on Print, and then at the bottom of my screen in a second, Job Control goes gold, and then we can see the laser bed. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly click on that. That's going to go into the machine. I'm going to check my file. It's in the right area. And now we press play. Now, if you just might have just noticed, you'd have seen the table just drop slightly.
So that's just putting in the offset for the focus. So the reason for that is if we're engraving in focus, we might be getting some good depth, but we might not be scorching and burning the material much. And we need to do that a little bit just to get the contrast. So that's why on some machines like the Speedy 400, having that focus offset really does make a big difference. And good morning to Kay from all the way from Saudi Arabia. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yours is going a bit faster than mine, Trav.
Just a touch. So let's just have a look at this. So we've got both machines running. Back one. But has any questions come in yet, Johnny?
We just have, literally just now. So we've got a quick question from Sophia. Can the job control software be run on a Mac? Short answer is no. However, this is one of the primary drivers behind the development of the Ruby software. So the Ruby software can be run on a Mac. You still, for the time being, need a PC, Windows PC, as kind of a conduit to the laser. So you connect your laser to a PC, but then you don't need to mess with the PC at all. You can run it exclusively from the Mac, control everything from the Mac. So while job control can't, we do have a solution for this now at long last. And if you look on YouTube, Trotec Canada have got some fabulous videos on how that setup works and how to get it running. So have a look on Trotec Canada on YouTube, and you'll see all about it there. So everyone watching, feel free to let us know where you're watching from and if you're enjoying it. So we've got 3 whole days of content, which we're very excited to be bringing to you. How are you feeling about it so far, Trev?
Good. If you take a look at the cameras, both machines are at roughly the same point now within the file. So the Speedy 400 is caught up.
Yeah. So both of these machines have the same drive system. They both run on servo motors. They both have our OptiMotion system, which we will go into more over the next few days. But essentially, it's a pathing optimization software, which will, particularly for cutting and cutting of thin materials, let the laser move at an optimized speed with very little setup needed. So very similar technology-wise. However, the Speedy has a much lighter laser head, so it's able to go over twice as quickly as the Q500 here. But the Q500, as we will go into much more detail tomorrow, is much more set up as a cutting machine with an engraving ability rather than just a pure high-performance cutting and engraving machine. So it's different machines for different purposes.
And as you can see from both pictures, the Speedy, we are getting less of a dark mark. That's all going to be down to a couple of things. Things like the beam width, the quality of the beam, and we can have a very light touch with it. So with the Speedy 400, I haven't actually set that up to run as fast as it could because I do want to put some colour into that board. And we'll be approaching the end of the file on the Speedy. What's yours looking like, Johnny?
We're most of the way down now. We're probably 3/4 the way through it. So you've overtaken us quite clearly. In fact, I don't even think we're that far. I think we're about 2/3 in.
I always like to give you a start.
Thanks, mate.
So, as we can see, the Speedy is finished.
So, got a comment from Mark. Hi, Mark. So I've got a cousin called Mark Green. How are you doing? I presume that's not you. Yes, the glass tube does look more burnt than the Speedy, and that's because the Speedy, having a ceramic tube, has got a higher beam quality. So by that I mean it's going to have a rounder laser beam and a more focused power of the laser beam. So the glass tube doesn't have quite as fine a spots it's focusing down to, so we're getting a lot more burning onto the material for it. It's also part of the nature of a glass tube laser because you often can't turn it down low enough to get a nice sort of finessed result with it. So it's all part of what the technology is really. With glass tube lasers, predominantly a cutting machine, but with the ability to engrave as well, albeit not with quite so much control as the Speedies. Thanks, Cuz. Hi to David from Robert Gordon University. Very glad you're happy with your machines. Sure, my colleague Chris, another Green, we're everywhere. He'll be delighted to hear that. Trev, do you want to change your surname to Green just to fit in?
I'd like to change my first name, never just my surname, to be fair. So we're coming towards the end of the file. So there's been a marked difference between the two machines running. Obviously the Q500, we set it off first and we're still just waiting for that to come through. So in a moment, what we'll do is we'll take both samples out of each machine and then we'll be able to show you on the cameras just to give you something to kind of contrast and compare.
So another question coming in from, and I apologise in advance, but Cargle. Apologies. Are they both running on similar settings? Absolutely not. No, we're running on very different settings because the lasers demand that, because the motion control systems let them run at different speeds and the laser technology is fundamentally different. So the settings that the Speedy is running at is running at full power and 80% speed. The Q500 is going a lot slower because that's what a glass tube requires. So we're at 40% power and 40% speed for that one. On Easter Racing, the Speedy 400 come with a ceramic tube as standard? Yes, it does. Yes, it absolutely does. So the ceramic tube is the only CO2 tube that we offer with the Speedy 400. However, we do also have the option of a secondary fiber laser, which again, JB is going to go into when he does his session tomorrow morning with our friend Andy Camplin down in Guildford. And yeah, fiber laser is a very good technology for direct marking onto metals without any kind of treatment onto the metal beforehand. But as goes the CO2, yeah, ceramic tube on the 400 on everything. Are you running air on the glass tube? Yes, we are. Yes, yeah, we're running air on both of them.
There you go.
Amy Hill. How are you doing, Amy? Lovely to see you. My podcast buddy. I sometimes join for the live streams from our Canada branch, doing the Rayjet Challenge. So lovely to hear from you. Hope you're well.
So, as we can see, what I'll just do is I'll just bring, that's the cheese board up, obviously for you to guys have a look at and inspect. So we've got all that lovely fine detail. We've engraved into the grain of the material, and we've got a little bit of contrasting colour. In fact, I'll probably swap that back.
Let me just grab my one and show what we've got with that.
That's better.
Get the camera sorted.
So we've got all that lovely detail, even around Johnny's graphic, with very little discoloration. We've put some tone into the wood, but very little discoloration. And then obviously what we've not got to do with this sample is we don't actually need to clean it.
Yeah, so what I'm doing now is just using a little bit of meth spirit on a rag just to get the burning away, because sometimes it can release some sap and debris from the wood, so it just needs a little bit of a clean. You could also give it a very light sand if you prefer, but there we go. That's the result on the glass tube machine. So it can miss out some of the very, very fine detail, but you do get a very nice contrast with it, and quite a lot of colour change with it too. So that's that one.
So there's two boards.
Mm-hmm.
So back to my presentation. So now this is where we get to have a look at the ROI. So we've used the same piece of artwork on two very different machines. As you can see, the Q500, we've done a single board. The board costs about £3.50, and it took 16 minutes and 3 seconds to engrave that one board. When we look at the ceramic tube machine, we're using the same board, same graphic. We've been able to engrave that one in 3 minutes and 34 seconds, so hugely faster. If we then go and look at how you would look at realistically batch producing boards, the Q500 will take 16 boards, so I can do one run, 16 boards, that's going to cost me £56. It's going to take 159 minutes, or 2 hours 39 per run. I've got enough time in a day to do 3 runs, a total of 48 boards. If I was to sell those boards at £15, we've generated turnover of £720. The cost of the boards is £168. That would give us £552 profit. When I look at the Speedy, what we've got is 9 boards to 1 bed, so £31.50 to fill it with chopping boards. It's going to take me 27 minutes to do 9 boards. That means I can run that machine 17 times in 1 day, 153 boards in total. If I sell at the same price of £15, that gives me a turnover that I've generated of £2,295. If I remove the cost of the boards at £535.50, that gives us a total profit of £17.59, which is a huge amount. So nice. We can see the benefits that the faster, more powerful laser it brings to us in productivity.
Absolutely, and it's important to remember that's not just 1 month, that's every month, year on year on year on year on year, on a very long-lasting machine, which costs very little to run, and it's just pure profit. Laser, part of the beauty of using laser is running costs are incredibly low for this kind of equipment. Like, there's nothing in this entire showroom that isn't just on a normal 3-pin plug socket. So it's a very, very profitable enterprise once you're set up for it. So let's just look at the comments. Oh, we've got a question from Paul. Can you run the engraving process from front to back of the breadboard? Yes, we do have absolute control over that. We can start at the top of the workpiece or the back of the workpiece. Doesn't make a huge amount of difference when working with wood most of the time. But on certain materials like our 2-ply laminate plastics can make an enormous difference just to constantly be pushing the dust towards the extraction rather than dragging it over where you've just engraved. So that's an excellent point. Hi, Kate. Can you use spirit for cleaning wood if it's been treated with a varnish? You can if you're gentle with it, but it might be easier if it's been varnished. You've got a nice smooth surface, just like a baby wipe or something like that would be absolutely fine for it.
Yeah, I think there are some people who might also sometimes oil the board as well.
Yeah.
Some before, some afterwards, just to get a little bit more colour out of it as well.
Yeah. So we've got a comment from Ace Toys here. So not liking your one, Trev. No, but look, it just highlights that engraving is a very subjective thing. I mean, it goes in and out of fashion too. So, depending on what you're looking for out of it, yeah, you might want a light or a dark engrave. It's all down to personal preference, but very easy to control and tweak your settings accordingly to get that kind of result. So yeah, it's all down to personal preference with engraving. There's no one perfect engraving setting, particularly on something like wood, where there's so much scope for tweaking power, speed, offset, the DPI. There's a lot of buttons to press to try and get it to the level you want. But once you've established that, setting saved, just run it like that forever.
Yeah, and the thing is with wood as well, part of the beauty of wood is also part of the problem, because every board could be slightly different. You could sit here and think you've absolutely nailed the setting for 9 boards, and then the next 2 could be just slightly sappier, slightly more resin. The other thing is as well is we're not always, and again this is personal preference, we're not always looking for depth. We're not always looking for colour. Sometimes we're just having a look for a contrasting mark. But again, it's just a question of just adjusting the speed, adjusting the power, even adjusting the offset or even the lens. I'm using a 2-inch lens, whereas I could always swap that to a 2.5 just to make that beam spot that little bit bigger. The benefit of the example that I've done is there's no other processing. So it'd be very easy to tweak just to get a little bit more colour into that.
Absolutely, that's a great point. So, Sophia, hi again. So, when you say 9 boards to 1 run, do you mean lay 9 boards out in the machine at one time? Yes, we absolutely do, because then the laser can stay at full speed for longer. So, instead of just going back and forth over one product, it could be zooming over lots of them at once. So, the time saving, the increase in production is absolutely huge.
We actually could have fitted 10 boards in the Speedy 400, but it actually slowed it down marginally. So, we just went with 9, 3 rows of 3. Whereas with the Q500, we were able to fit in 16, 4 rows of 4.
So hi again to Lothian Woodwork. So Speedy seems like the clear winner for financial gain. So you win, Trev.
Thank you very much.
No, absolutely right. I mean, one thing about lasers in general is laser products, laser machines, can often have a not insignificant number on the price ticket, but you've got to think about the potential that can bring you in terms of productivity, the amount you can produce, the amount you can then sell your product for, but also things like how much it's going to cost you over the lifetime of the machine. And yeah, while lasers are not a cheap object, but over the lifetime of them will not cost you anything in terms of inks or fuels or anything like that. It just runs on electricity and not a great deal of that. So it can be very, very efficient over the lifetime of it.
Well, the other thing to consider as well, when you look at these 2 machines, one is roughly twice the cost of the other. However, as you can see from the figures, it generates, 3.5 times more in terms of revenue. And we've also got less processing time on the examples that we've used today, because no cleaning. So that's all time that can be used for yourself for doing picking, packing, doing your post, setting up other jobs if you've got other machines that you can be using. Because if you know this machine is going to be running for 2.5 hours on the queue, or 27 minutes, you can also be more productive by doing all your packing next to your laser. So you're still supervising, it just gives you more efficiency within your business, which I'm sure a lot of you are already doing. It's just that with the Speedy, sometimes those gaps would be smaller.
No, absolutely, and as Lothian points out there, time is money. Yes, quite, because not only in terms of the laser processing, sure, that's a big part of it, but just having easy-to-use laser software that you can just get your job, crack straight on with it, no fighting with it, because if you're fighting with the software for 20 minutes in an hour, then you're only making 2/3 as much money as you could be making. If the laser's not firing, it's not being profitable. So you don't want to be fighting against it. You want it to be simple, elegant, and easy to run through. So yeah, absolutely, time is money. Couldn't agree more.
And as a process, this is really straightforward and easy. The hardest bit is coming up with the design, the creativity, and then matching that with the product. That's the real skill. Operating the laser is quite simple. Get your drawing, press print, send it through to your laser, and then repeat.
Are you basing the drawing being the hardest bit on my podcast with Amy? Because I seem to I seem to prove that pretty much every time I'm on.
Well, that's why I let you do the drawing, Johnny, because I knew it was the hardest bit.
If anyone's not following Amy, please follow her on Instagram because she's amazing and always comes up with brilliant designs. So so shout out to Amy Hill again. Lothian K40s. Oh yeah. The fact that you run K40s is worth achievement in its own right. It's yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Mario, time is money, speed is profit.
Absolutely right. So
like
where would you go to change setting change to achieve more contrast on the speedy? Trev, do you want to bring your settings up again, mate, and have a run through that?
Let me just swap screens. Okay, so if I was wanting to alter that setting on here, file and print, just so I bring up the job control menu. We'll open that up and then we can look at the parameters. So 100% power, 80% speed, and then the Z offset. So I'm already using all the power. So if I wanted to get either more depth or more color or contrast into that file, all I would do is I can't add any more power. I would need to take some of the speed away. So I might decide to alter that to 65. That would just slow that down and leave that power in place for longer. The more material as it's running I'm going to remove, that's also going to give me some extra depth slightly. I could also look at altering this offset. I could alter that from 4 mil maybe to 5 mil, just try and put a little bit of extra colour into it. Or you could use the same settings and look at possibly having a change of lens that would just give you a bigger spot size. And again, it's just a question of experimenting to look at the finish in terms of the colour that you're after and also the depth. And what other process are you looking at doing? But it would literally just be altering those numbers on that menu.
And don't forget, things like this, we're always here to help and advise with. I mean, that's part of the setup that we have. It's not just here's your laser, go and have fun with it, go and look it up on the internet if you have any trouble. It's like, no, we want to be an active participant in getting your results right. So if you've got anything you can't quite get right, we've had emails this morning, people who are struggling with various applications. So I mean, we're here to help. We're here to assist you and make sure the laser's doing what you need it to do. Because if it's doing that, it's profitable and useful to you. So a few more comments. So morning, Chris. How you doing? Find the market is the toughest part. Can be, depending on what you're looking to do with the laser. Insta racing. So what's the thickest acrylic speedy 100 watt able to cut? That's an interesting question because there's cutting it and cutting it well. So the 120 to cut, the general rule of thumb is, say, 10 watts for every millimeter you want to cut. So for a commercially viable kind of rate. So it will chomp through 12 mil all day long. However, if you run it very slowly and with suitable exhaust for the extraction, I've had it cutting 20 mil with absolutely no problem at all. Changing the DPI to 500 gives a dark finish too. That is an excellent point because then you're going to have more overlap with every pass of the laser. It's going to be affecting the material more. So yeah, that's a fantastic tip too.
I can see that Paul Bowden's asked a quick question. So in terms of altering the direction, we would just go to job control and we would go from bottom to top instead of from top to bottom. So again, just altering that little bit there.
And it's all a case of like being used to materials too, because some materials doesn't make a blind bit of difference, but some materials it can make a real difference between having a really nice looking product and something which could be better. So yeah, things like that very, very useful to do. So I hope everyone's found that useful today. It's certainly been a privilege to kick this off with Trev, and I hope everyone's found it useful. So yeah, do follow us on all of the socials: Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever. And you're always welcome to give us a call if you've got any questions. Me and Trev are always by our emails, ready to answer any queries you might have. There's our main inquiries email. So any questions, feel free to drop us an email or give us a call, and it will come through to us.
Thanks, guys. What a great start. I think my screen. I don't know which one. What a good start for the event. You've set a standard there, I think.
Oh, thank you very much.
We'd like to think so.
It's all Trev.
I think it's making us, squeezing us. That's better, isn't it? That's better.
I like that.
So, just for the viewers, in between each session, you'll see either myself or Brian, who you might have seen earlier on, or my colleague James, who I'm going to bring on now, to do a bit of a handover between each session. Here we go. There's James. Hi, James. You're muted.
Morning, James.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Internet. I'm unmuted now.
Did you enjoy that, James?
Yeah, great session, guys. Very informative, and obviously great design from Johnny there. And, humor.
No arguments from me.
Sorry, Trevor. I'm talking over you. I love seeing the two machines go side by side like that. You really can see the difference. I mean, I know we talk about the speed, but to be actually to watch it in real time on the screen there was brilliant.
Excellent. No, we're glad to get such great feedback, and thanks to Lothian again for a kind comment. And Paul, you're too kind, all of you. So I believe the next session is our good friends Andy and Chris, who are going to talk about samples. So that's going to be interesting. We'll be sure to hang around and have a look at that.
Yeah, so what I'll do then, guys, without further ado, because I think we've got 3 minutes until we're due to start the next session. So Johnny and Trevor, thanks very much. I think we'll see you later on, Trevor, at the end of the day.
No problem at all.
Lovely. Thanks so much, guys. I'm going to bring Chris and Andrew into the stream.
No problem.
See you later.
Morning, Chris. Morning, Andy. Morning, Johnny. Morning, Trev.
Morning, Andy.
Oh, Trev's gone. Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
just wanted to say hello before we...
I left prematurely.
Time for a cup of tea. Andy, where are you joining us from?
Hi, yeah, I'm joining from sunny Dublin, actually. It's not raining today, which makes a change. So, yes, Dublin in Ireland.
Lovely. And Chris, you're just up the road from me. You're at our headquarters in the northeast, aren't you?
Yes, so I'm doing this out of our headquarters in Bolden, just outside of Newcastle this morning. A bit frosty, but we're all good.
Yeah, I think all the snow's down south at the moment. We've managed to escape it somehow.
It's all here. It's where it is. It's here in the East Midlands. No problem. Well, we'll let you get on then, guys. Have a good session, and we'll speak to you later.
Catch you later, guys.
Cheers, please.
See you guys.
Sorry about that.
We've got 2 minutes, and I don't want to start early because people will be joining us on time. So I hope everybody enjoyed that session that Trevor and Johnny just held, and that you'll stick with us for this one. Chris and Andy are going to be showing us lots of different samples that can be made on a laser, so you can get lots of ideas about what's possible. If you see something you like, ask them questions about how it's done. They're all prepped and ready. And yeah, as you can see behind Chris is quite a selection of things to go through.
Next best thing to coming to the actual showroom.
Yeah, well, that's it. We can't.
Absolutely.
It's difficult at the moment, isn't it? So it's amazing that we've been able to put this sort of thing together. We're all joining from different parts of the country, and here we are on one screen. Okay, I'm going to stop nattering. I'm probably boring everyone, and I think it's just about time for you guys to start anyway. So thank you. I'm going to say goodbye, and James will be helping me out with the handover a bit later on. And James, you're also on with Trevor and Hannah at the end of the day.
Yes, that'll be good. Catch you guys then.
Yeah, more of him too. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Enjoy,
Bye.
guys.
Thanks, Sean.
James.
Thanks, James.
Okay, so welcome. Thank you very much to everybody who's joining us. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the chats. That was a very good demo. I don't know whether you caught any of that, Chris, but that was an excellent demo on the glass tube versus ceramic tube lasers. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Johnny.
Yeah, very informative. Very informative.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Sean said, I'm joining My name's Andrew Dudley. I'm the area sales manager for Trotec Laser in Ireland, working out of our Dublin showroom, as you can see behind me. And Chris over there is in our head office. So Chris, and you look after the northeast of England and Scotland, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So where? Oh, sorry, the north of England. Where does the where would the north end for you?
So we're looking at.
Where are the southern softies from?
So I cover from anywhere from around about Leeds upwards, all the way up to, well, north of Scotland, really. Anywhere above there. That's my territory, yes.
All the way up into the Shetlands.
That's right, yeah. If needs be, that's where we'll go.
Exactly. Okay, so that's a bit of introduction. So today's session, or this morning's session, we're going to talk a bit more about applications. So this is more of an inspirational session, so showing you samples, showing you what you can achieve with the different lasers in terms of the different materials. So this might be for, perhaps customers that have a laser and maybe only do a couple of products and want to expand what they're doing, or for completely new people to lasering and to see what they can do. Again, this is not necessarily an extensive list of what can be done, but it's things that we think that would be interesting for you. Okay, so before we start, again, if you want to shout out in the chat or if you've got any questions about specific samples, I'll be able to look at what's going on in the chat as we go, and hopefully ask Chris or answer the questions myself. But Chris is going to mainly take on the presenting role today. So if I just do this one, there we go. Yeah, you get your front and center now, Chris. So the first sample we have is the guitar. I think that's the one that catches the eye first.
It does, yes. It's always something that when people walk into the showroom here, that's one of the things that catches their eye. Hopefully we can see that here.
Yeah, that's
we've
perfect.
engraved Eric Clapton on there.
Yeah, it's definitely Eric Clapton, not somebody else. And so how's that? And that's done with a CO2 laser.
CO2 laser, yes. Yep, 333 DPI. We don't need a lot of contrast in here. The wood and the varnish tends to bring that out for us.
Okay, and so that was an already varnished guitar, and then the wood, the laser's taking that varnish off as well.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so photograph engraving into wood, or just normal engraving into wood, I think, as you saw in the last webinar, again, something that a laser engraver, a typical application for laser engravers generally, engraving into wood. So that's a fantastic example.
Yeah, just a bit of added value, really, even to just a personal item that you wanted to personalize yourself. Or, I mean, I've never seen these in the marketplace or anything like anyone doing them. I've seen the plectrum being done with a photograph, but never someone directly straight onto the back or actually selling them. So maybe a good idea for somebody.
Exactly. And so I think we're going to continue the photograph engraving theme, and I think you've got an acrylic sample there.
I do, yes, yeah. So we've got Jimi Hendrix here on a piece of black acrylic. We've used a fiber laser for this particular one. Hopefully we'll be able to see it. There's quite a lot of shine in the showroom. We've used a fiber laser in this case. It kind of marks the surface and brings out all the contrast. Now, this doesn't work on, in my opinion, it doesn't really work on anything else but black acrylic. I've tried it on reds, blues. That's the fiber, that is. It doesn't give out the contrast, so it is kind of a one-off maybe application.
Yeah, and do you find that on other colors you'd need to use the CO2 laser on other colored acrylic to get any result?
Yes, definitely, Andy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so that was all engraved and cut into the Speedy 400 Flex, I believe. I think based on the size of the sample.
Yes, yeah, all cut on one machine. So yeah, so use the fiber for engrave, CO2 to cut.
Yeah, I think that's answered Sophia's question, who's just put that in chat, which machine that was done on. What machine was the guitar done on? I'm not sure if you...
It was done on the 400, just as the bed size, it could fit straight into the 400, yeah.
No, absolutely. Fantastic.
So I'll just put that back.
Yeah, exactly. So typically, yeah, again, cutting and engraving wood and acrylic, very typical applications for a laser. Again, you might not do photos, but obviously it's showing off what the lasers can do. I think you've got some anodized aluminium, the photo on anodized aluminium. I think it's one of your favorite shows.
It is one of my favourite shows. They started filming last week, so bit of a Peaky Blinders fan.
A little bit closer.
A little
Chris,
bit closer, yeah. There we go.
Yeah. So I think the one thing in anodized aluminium you see is the very, very sharp detail that you can achieve. This is something that, again, we've got plenty of samples in each showroom, and yes, the detail is basically the dot gain of the laser. So you don't get much dot gain. That dot that the laser puts onto the material, it doesn't spread like it would do potentially on wood. So you can achieve very high detail results. Again, depending on what you what image you have to start with is what you're going to get out. But yeah, that's certainly something that you can achieve, and and I'd say, Chris, and maybe you'd agree that you'd need probably a ceramic laser to achieve that level of detail, whereas a glass tube machine, as you probably saw in the last demonstration, might not necessarily achieve that quite level of detail.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I did use a 1.5 inch lens for this on the Speedy 100. Took around about 8 minutes.
About 8 minutes, yeah. That's pretty quick. That's pretty quick. Again, we've got a question from. Sorry, I should be bringing these up, shouldn't I? Peter from asks what machine for the aluminium. Again, this was generally a CO2 laser to produce that contrast. You can use a fiber laser on anodized aluminium as well. I don't know whether you'd say it, Chris, but I tend to find that you get a brighter mark out with a CO2 if that's what you're looking for on the anodized than the fiber laser. But that's more to do with sort of finding the right settings generally. But yeah, a CO2 laser on anodized aluminium would be the one.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So, is there any questions so far about the photographs? Now, we do have a webinar at 20 to 3 today, UK time, with Alex, our applications engineer, specifically on photo engraving. So that's something definitely to check out if you're interested in specifically, the aspects of photo engraving. So contrast, color, correction, all that sort of stuff in terms of and settings. So definitely worthwhile checking out. I certainly learned a lot when I first looked at the webinar he did last year on that one. So there's always something to learn from that.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, even the Peaky Blinders photo, I did take that off a 4K image off a Google search, but I did have to tweak that a little bit as well. It took me around about 20 minutes to tweak it and just get some settings right for the anodized aluminium. So photographs is something that you can quickly work with or really spend some time on to gain a bit more detail.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I've got a sample on anodized aluminium with some album covers, and I literally just took them off Google and basically stuck them in Corel and sized them correctly, and they come out lovely. So yeah, you can spend a lot of time, but if you've got a good image to start with, then it makes a lot of difference. Moving on, I think the next sample is on the back wall, so it's a little bit hard to see, but maybe if you go over, Chris, and sort of point it out, and it's apparently the one of the Mexican god of death. It's Katrina, I believe. I might be butchering that name quite a lot, but this is anodized aluminium and acrylic in one design.
Yeah, so we've engraved anodized aluminium. The backing is anodized aluminium, and then we've layered it up with different colors of acrylic, just to give that sort of 3D image, just a bit brighter.
Yeah, and
again, it's a one-off piece. Yeah.
Yeah, and the face is, I think, engraved, and then the thing, is it the hair or the?
Yeah, so this is all laser engraved here on the anodized aluminium. If we can see where I'm pointing to, the rest is obviously all the colors are all built up from multicolored acrylic.
Yeah, and as you can see, you can use multi-materials to create a really nice effect. It's a bit hard to see that, but you just have to go to the showroom to find out whenever we're able to.
Yes, quite difficult to take off the wall as well.
Exactly. Onto the anodized aluminium to the right. To the right as I see it. So that maybe to the right is I think it's the London Tube map in anodized aluminium. Now I'm just going to brief my screen because obviously
you've got a bit of a smaller one, haven't you?
I've got a bit of a smaller one, and it's also something I can take off the wall, which is a little bit handier. So I just show you that there. So as you can see, you can get a very high level of detail with anodized aluminium. It's a really lovely material to work with, and you might be able to see that the different colors of the line have different intensities. So effectively, when the different colors are taken into the software, they're given a percentage black, effectively a grayscale, and you can really tell. You can really sort of see the difference. It's probably a bit harder to see on the camera, but certainly you can see the different contrasts in each line of the London Underground. So that makes it, you know, a wonderful material to work with. I suppose typically, I mean, what would you say your typical customers that are using anodized aluminium? I mean, a lot of it is ratings plates that I would see. So machine ratings plates with, you know, ID numbers and serial numbers and things like that. Is there anything else that you've seen, Chris?
That's about it, really. We see standard stuff, but in industrial business, this is a real need for the industrial rating plate. We've actually got them on back of all of our Trotec lasers. Serialization, date of birth, address. Yeah, pretty standard. When we put a photograph onto something, it's, you know, it's a one-off piece that we've just played with the material and found something to make a lovely sample with.
Exactly. So unless there's any, oh sorry, hang on. I've got another. We've got a few questions here. So small size lens. So one question from Scott is, so are the smaller lens sizes for better, more intense images? It's probably more of a technical question that we're trying to maybe cover later, but yeah, generally what you get with a smaller lens size in terms of the focal length is a smaller spot size. So you're potentially going to get more detail. So if you can run it at a higher resolution, so you might be able to find you know, get more detail out of 1000 dpi, for example, on anodized aluminium in a 1.5 inch lens as opposed to a 2-inch lens, as opposed to a 2.5 inch lens. Typically, there's a few videos on YouTube actually from Trotec of this where they look at text specifically on the different lenses, so you can see the point size of the text. So, you know, go to 3-point, 4-point, 5-point size text, and you'll see that the 1.5 inch lens will, you know, resolve the smaller text compared to the 2-inch and the 2.5. But most of the time, a 2-inch lens would be probably where we're working on.
More than adequate.
Yeah, more than adequate for most applications. But if you require slightly more detail, then the 1.5 inch lens is definitely worth trying.
Yeah, and that's all about our part of our consultation. When you come to us and ask for a laser price or a demonstration, we'll go through with you what you need, what potentially you need in the future. So we'll spec the correct machine for you from the beginning.
Yeah, I think the next two questions we've got are for specifically stone and slate, which we're going to come on to in a second. So if you just bear with us, we'll get to them. So I'll just hide that. It's StreamYard. So the next one is actually a file or a sample that was done from by a customer. So this is a wooden box made from MDF, I believe. So this is I think was a customer down in the Bristol way.
Yeah, so a lot of people work with MDF. This is engraved. Let me just pull that closer for you so you can see that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and maybe a bit up so we can see. Yeah. So this was actually a hot sauce bottle, or chili sauce bottle, which I think would probably kill you if you drank it, based on how hot it was. It would certainly kill me. But yeah, you can see the detail in the engraving there. You know, even on wood, it's very, very high detail. You can get a nice definition as well, again, using the techniques that the guys said in the last webinar about getting more of a burn mark on the wood. You can get a nice contrast. And again, using the 6mm, it's quite a nice material to make things out of as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so this box has been glued together. So we're actually created a box and engraved something out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. So again, any questions as we go along on specific samples or specific materials, please drop them in the chat and we will get to them as we go, if not at the end. So now, I think leading on from, I suppose we've done quite a bit of wood, but leading on from wood, there's paper and card. So I think you've got a few samples of paper and card. Again, this is something that, you know, we've got plenty of customers cutting or engraving.
Yes.
So what have you got there?
So I've got it's a strawberry made out of red card, very thin. Here we go. Can we see that all right?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. It's almost something that you'd find a punnet of strawberries in if you went to Wimbledon, if it was ever on again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. It sort of fits in, but yeah, it just shows you the creativity you can have with different designs. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. So that's just a couple of pieces of card, and
yeah. So I've actually got a Christmas card here that we did a couple of years ago. Oh.
We did have a Christmas card.
Yeah, we did have. Yes. So we've actually engraved that as well. Can we see the engraving on there?
Yeah, you can see that. Just tilt it a little bit, yeah. And so you've got the engraving there, and also then the signatures. Were they engraved as well?
They were, yes, yeah.
So that was just
we engraved the back as well.
Brilliant.
See that?
Yeah, I think the other side was a bit easier. Yeah, so that's really, really creative. There's quite a lot of possibilities. Again, I've got a customer in Ireland that's cutting maps of the country. So designing maps and cutting them out for framing them, things like that. So you can get your home county or your home city map design. So if you can't visit them at the moment, it's you can have a little bit on the wall where it reminds you of what they are and the memories there. So I think you've got a customer sample as well, which was the light.
I do, yes, yeah. So this was given to us by Hannah Nunn. She's on this afternoon with Trevor. It's a lamp. It's a working sample. I think this one's made out of parchment card paper, I believe. It's quite robust. All laser cut.
Okay,
it's a lovely sample, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's a great sample, and I think we'll have one in every showroom shortly as well. So if you're ever able to get into the showrooms, you can have a look at that yourself. And Hannah, I think, is on, as you said, with Trevor at 3:20 today, so just after the photo engraving webinar. So definitely worthwhile having a check of that out and seeing what she does with the laser machines. Now moving on, I think there was a question. Yes, there's a question about slate and stone in general. So I think there's a sample you have there, which is one of your favourites, which is one of your passions, Chris.
Yes, I am a motorsport fan. I do like Formula One as well. Ayrton Senna is. I grew up watching him, so I've engraved a famous quote of his. Can we see that? All right.
Yeah. So I think the quote says, "The harder I push, the more I find within myself." Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
So so you can get, so very, very nice detail on the granite. And does it work? I suppose the granite works generally better if it's if it's more of a uniform color, sort of a black granite rather than a sort of a speckled or a lighter color granite, because you get the contrast with the white of the engraving.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I've had experiences with customers who've purchased speckled granite before, and it just doesn't bring out the contrast once it's been lasered. So it does need to be a black granite, to get sort of that sort of intricacy of detail. Yeah,
I found with the speckled granite, you can engrave it, but then maybe a color fill afterwards. It's certainly with text and things like that might bring it out as well. But it's a lot better when you've got a uniform. And then there's the slate example. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a small coaster. If you can bring it
closer, is that right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So what do you get with that, Chris? So is that done on a CO2 as well?
Again, CO2, very straightforward. Yeah, you kind of with slate it, you get that sort of contrast straight away. We don't need a lot of power to do that with.
Yeah. So hopefully. Lothian Woodworks and Sophia, hopefully that's shown you an example of the slate that we in the stone that we can see. So again, it's a very easy material to laser engrave
to work with the
CO2. It does create quite a bit of dust, so you just got to make sure that your extraction system's up to scratch and you're maintaining that well. That's the only sort of thing, I suppose, with stone that I would suggest if anybody's cutting it or engraving it themselves. You have another customer sample there, which is, I think, something you was donated the last few weeks, which was something pertinent for these times.
Yes, yeah. So first of all, many thanks to Amy Britton for donating some samples for us. She's based out of Stirling. she makes sort of bags out of Harris tweed. Now, Harris tweed material, if we cut with some scissors or a knife, it does fray. With a laser, it works brilliant because we cauterize the edges. Last year, obviously, with COVID, face masks became mandatory, and Amy's been doing Harris tweed face masks, which look amazing, to be honest with you. We've been donated a few, and then also some fabric ones as well. Now, these are tested all the way up to 85% filtration efficiency, so she's done a brilliant job. I've been there a few times, and it's a great facility to see. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And she's up in Scotland, you said?
In Stirling, yes, yeah.
In Stirling, yeah.
Not far away from our showroom in Stirling, to be honest with you.
Okay, yep, no, excellent. And you're up there, whenever you can, I suppose, or whenever you need to, at the moment. So yeah, it's again, we've got showroom facilities dotted all around the UK and Ireland. Yeah. And what machine does she use for?
She's got a Speedy 400 CO2, 120 watts.
So and it would be a CO2 for the
fabric, yeah.
For the fabrics, yeah. No, perfect. Again, if there's any questions, I think there's a question about anything cut on the R400, so we might come to that at the end by Nathan. But yes, so moving on, we've got some giftware. So I don't want to steal your thunder because I think you're on next with Jamie on the Rotary engraving. Good
yeah, we'll do a quick show of what we're going to make.
But we've got a few gifts.
Yeah. So we do keep these in our web shop. A glitter water bottle, but me and Jamie will run through that in about 10 or 15 minutes time. We'll just run through how we use a rotary. We do have a fabric book as well. We touched on fabric before. Something different. We do sell
again. So we sell them in the web shop, but that's that's a very light engraving, isn't it, with the CO2? So that's just
very, very light. Yes, yeah. You can't really feel it. It's just a fabric color change.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So again, with the ceramic laser tube, as you sort of saw in the previous webinar, you can have you've got a great deal of control over it. So yeah, you can just take off the surface to get the color change. And with the bottle, you're taking off the coating to reveal the metal underneath, I think, on that one.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Just taking off the powder coating to relieve the metal underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, it's far too shiny for the camera to.
Can you not see it that well?
No,
I haven't got a screen to have a look at. So, yeah,
no, it's good. We can see it, but
there we go.
It's just very, very shiny.
Sean did have a gold one. It didn't appear that great on camera. I mean, I do have one of our golden cups, which I've put a Walt Disney quote on. I'm not sure whether we can see that too well.
Okay, just rotate it a bit. See that. Yeah. Again, it's. I think when the background's quite busy, then a simple big engraving works quite well. And then, yeah. Again, there's lots of different samples.
We got our rubber stamp as well.
Yep.
So this is our history. Trodat is our parent company. Our history is rubber stamps. The CO2 machines were developed for this particular reason, to get that amount of detail in there.
Yeah, we can see that huge amount of detail.
We see that, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and again, like the slate, the rubber's a very, very, very hard material to work with in terms of the extraction. So having a really good extraction system for the rubber makes a massive difference in terms of the usability and longevity of your laser. But rubber, yeah, the fantastic in terms of what you can do. And again, that could be, police stations, it could be post offices. There's lots of different people that still need rubber stamps to stamp documents and things like that. Sorry, I'm just gonna come back. I think Yi Dai, I think if I've pronounced that correctly. Sorry, but what did you say about the type of black granites earlier? I've only heard you mention one type work better than the other, but I haven't had time to note it down. So I think going back to this was if the granite was with granite, you can get speckles in the material. So, and what happens is when a bit, I suppose, like the gold cup, when the background becomes busy, the engraving doesn't stand out quite as well. So generally, if you're going to do a photograph, in the granite, it needs to be, you want it as black as possible and without the speckles. So that's really what we're sort of getting at in terms of having that contrast.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think the next, it's almost last but not least, is the Trolays. So this is the engraving laminates. So again, this is a material that we manufacture in our factory in America.
It is, yes, health and safety sign, very common in the workplace.
Yep.
Can we see that all right? Yep, there we go.
Yep.
Very straightforward.
And so this is a type of material. Again, this is something that a lot of our customers would use anyway, but maybe not everybody. And this is effectively you're engraving off a color of the material to reveal a color underneath. So the yellow's on top there, and the black is underneath.
That's right. Yes, yeah. So then I decided. I've seen one of our customers started to put photographs into Trolays. They look amazing.
Yeah, that's you can get a very, very, very good result with that. Again, that's using the ability of the ceramic tube to effectively get that contrast in the material. I think I've also got if I can show you, so I've got another sample there. Again, it's white on black engraving laminate. You can see hopefully you can see there's the black base on the background and then the white on top, and you effectively engrave the white off to reveal the black underneath. We've also got, I suppose, standard stuff that we would see on our customers doing is these types of ratings plates, again, or information plates. So again, this is something that you can mock up, and you've got product serial numbers and dates and everything like that. That's information. That's generally what customers would use. And then this is a green on white laminate. And also, it doesn't mean that you can't do signage as well. So that's the other thing that, and we've got this metallic finished laminate, and you can get this in brushed gold, brushed copper, brushed silver, as you see here. Along with all the other, sort of normal primary colors. And again, this is on a black background. But yeah, you can kind of see, hopefully that shows nicely. You can see that the level of detail you can get in both the logo and also the lettering. It's very good.
And that's out of the metallic Trolays as well, Andy, yeah?
That's metallic Trolays, yeah. Okay, back to you. And so that material is again made for laser processing. So the next one I think is glass. I think that's sort of
glasses are very common. We're going to run through the rotary with Jamie next on glass. Very common application. Just a quick sample there that we can look at. Hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit of that, can we?
Yeah, I think a bit closer. Maybe we can. Yeah, that's good. And then rotate. Yeah, so you can see again we're quite a shiny showroom, but. We can see that it's Kevin's 40th.
Yes, happy birthday, Kevin.
Exactly, happy birthday, Kevin. So that was done again. That was done with a CO2 laser. Is that right, Chris?
CO2 laser, yes, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And again, you're going to go through that a little bit more in the next actually in the next session. So you're not actually getting a break, are you?
No, straight into it. We'll go into a bit more detail how we've done the glass. We've got a full demonstration on that next. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I think that's probably about that in terms of the materials that we had. So I'll just have a quick look at the
if we've got any questions.
The questions. So again, if there's any questions you have, just anything you've seen or any other materials that you want to see. I think there was one before this, so I'll come back to that in a second. Can you engrave the bottles on the Speedy 300? Yes. So the I'll just share this so we're both the same size. Yes, we have the rotary attachment for all of the Speedy range, so the Speedy 100, the 300, the 360, and the 400. It's also available on the Rayjet, the Rayjet 50 as well, so the small Rayjet. So you can engrave cylindrical objects with those. So the next demonstration is on the 300 as well. Oh, it's on the 300. Yeah, exactly. So it's on the 300 as well. But again, it could be on the 100 or anything. Yeah. So what's it, Chris? So do we have anything cut engraved on the R series. I think I've got something cut. If I just bear with me 1 second. So I think this was what I did on the R500. So it's a very similar machine to the R400 in terms of it's got effectively the same laser source in it. So the red acrylic here, that's what I cut on the R series. So hang on, I'll just make the screen a bit bigger. Wrong one. So you can see. So again, the clock face, the 1, 2, 3, the acrylic was cut. The actual the face there, that was done with Trolays. That was actually done on a Speedy. Okay, so it was kind of trying to match the two different machines together in terms of what their sort of capabilities are. Again, for cutting acrylic. Again, I don't know whether you can see that. It's a bit difficult to see, but yeah. So again, you can see it cuts acrylic fine. Again, you've got the stepper motors and things like that with the R series, which isn't quite as the Speedy does perform better, but you can still get there with the R series, and it's certainly a great entry level entry point to the market.
I do believe we have something a webinar on that as well. The differences between the two coming up.
Yes, differences between those coming up. Okay, I think the next question was from Peter. So I can cut very fine DSL on my card paper, but I can't get the settings set up correct to mean I get no soot on the edges. Smudge is a real issue. Any suggestions? Oh, hello, Brian. Have we got over time?
No, you're not quite over time yet, but I thought I'd give you the few-minute warning.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I think we've just got 2 questions left, and then we'll wrap up. So I could get soot on the edges. Smudging is a real issue. Any suggestions? So Chris, is there a few suggestions that you can suggest on the?
Sometimes it's down to the paper and card. I've found with cheaper paper and cards, there's a lot of carbon in there. It gives off a little bit more dust. The edges are a little bit more browner. Also depends on what laser you're using as well. Are we running a ceramic core laser tube or a glass tube laser tube, Peter? There is a big difference between the two when we cut paper and card, either on the 2 laser sources.
I think you need to look at the lens you're using as well. So the finest spot size you can get. So a 1.5-inch lens would be ideal. And also we tend to turn the air assist off when we're cutting paper and card because you tend to get more debris when you're blowing down on it at the same time, which is not ideal, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you've noticed, Andy, you've had a question from Edinburgh Craft Studio. Can we see the textile samples? You've got a nice big cushion there, which is a nice textile sample.
Yes, yeah. Can we see that all right?
I will, hang on 1 second. Here we go. So Chris,
just tell us how that's been done.
CO2 laser, very, very low power. Run that as 100% speed, very low power, just to give a slight color change on the top. Again, we can't feel the engrave. It's just slightly, you could slightly burn the material, but it's just color changed a little bit.
And how did you get that flat? This would be my question. Or was that done before it was stuffed?
I believe
it was
done before.
Yes, yeah, it was done before. It's from IKEA, believe it or not.
Oh, okay, right. So there's a zip at the top,
we can
right? Okay.
we can take that out, lie it flat. Works fine.
Good. Excellent. I think there was there another bag as well you had in the back? Or there's something with a T on it. Was that a fabric?
Yes, yeah. So this is a cushion. Again, what we've done here is we've cut everything out of fabric. The T is cut out. Can we see that all right? The T's cut out so we can feel that's 2 materials together.
Okay, and that's just stuck on somehow. Yeah. Heat transfer. Or...
It is, yeah. Slightly coming away, to be honest with you. It's just been here a while.
Fair enough. I think we've got one last question, and then we'll probably wrap up. I think if that's That's right, Brian.
That'll work. You're on about time then. So if you get through this one, and we'll introduce the next.
Good. Does engraving curve services require dynamic focusing or something else? If there is a session in this 3-day workshop, you'd go through that aspect. Yes. So 3D surfaces. I suppose the one thing is with a laser, you generally need to be in focus to engrave on the surface. So if you can either move the surface into focus, so this is how the rotary system will work. So Chris and Jamie will go through that next.
Just to show on a glass, yeah. So really, we need to have the way that it's been engraved is on the top.
Yeah, and you rotate the glass so the glass becomes into focus effectively.
Yeah.
There is an option on our speed marker machines as well, where we've got a dynamic called dynamic shifting, where we can mark on different surface levels as well. So you've got, it's got effectively a component in it which changes where the focal point is. So you can have it set up at one height and then the other height. And it moves it pretty quickly. And again, our speedy range of machines have that as well. So I think Johnny and Trev, showed that in the last webinar with the Z offset. So you can also do that with the Z offset as well. But yeah, if you're looking for the 3 sort of the curved surfaces and dynamic focusing, we have a session on the galvanometer demonstration on day 3 as well. So myself and Johnny will be on that one on Thursday morning, I believe.
11:20 Thursday morning.
11:20. Thank you very much for reminding me. I'll definitely be up by then.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Exactly. So check that one out on Thursday if you're interested in that. Okay, so I think that's us. I don't see any more questions in chat, so I think we'll move on. And just 1 second, I've just got a few slides just to show you. This is more just to show, again, we've gone over a few materials. There's a wide range of materials that you can process with lasers, so be it that CO2 lasers or fiber lasers. If you want to find out more, a great source of information is our DIY samples page. This is on our website, so troteclaser.com. Again, there's a link there below if you want to just take a screenshot or something. But again, if you go to troteclaser.com and search for DIY samples in the top, you'll find this page. This has got a great list of samples in terms of different materials, different applications, different industries. So there's definitely something there you might find. It's also got a sample file, so you can download your either PDF or vector file from the site, and also recommended settings for certain lasers. So again, if you're maybe don't have that laser, you can obviously sort of adapt it, or maybe contact your local Trotec area manager, and they can maybe help you out with that. We've also got the online material shop. So this is a great place to have a look at effectively what materials that we supply. So again, we're supplying the engraving laminates, the trolleys, we're supplying the acrylic sheets, anodized aluminium gift bottles, as you saw in the presentation. There's lots of different things to have a look at. So again, well worth checking out. And again, you can have a look on there to see what we offer. And I think the last thing we're going to say is, again, just catch us on social media. You're obviously watching this on either, I think, YouTube or Facebook or wherever the stream's going live. We do have other channels, so we've got the Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn as well. So yeah, come and check us out. Come and follow us for the latest news in terms of what's happening. This event, for example, but also product launches and other webinars that we're doing, and rest of the world. So again, I think that's us. I think there's no more questions, and I think we're going to effectively hand over to Brian and the guys now. So if I just bring that back.
Well done, chaps.
Done it.
I did. That's
we lost him.
Oh, seem to have lost
Chris
him a
is
little
going to mill around in the background now, setting up for his next one.
I am, yes.
Oh, I think Brian's. I think the internet down in Bristol's gone a bit.
Yeah.
Need to
Am I
move up.
here? Or have I gone?
Yeah, so I'll take over. We're running slightly over. So Chris, have you got some setting up to do?
Very slightly, yes, yeah.
Okay, so we need to bring Jamie in to say bye to Andy. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Quick switch over. There we go, magic. And we've got a session now on rotary attachments. Haven't we, Jamie?
We have, Sean. Yes, good morning. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Jimmy.
Checking your mic's working for a start.
I think we're in. We're in.
It's sort of touch and go with the internet, I think. So sorry to step in and steal the spotlight.
It's just the south, Sean. It's us in Bristol.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great down there, is it? Okay,
No,
are you guys ready to go?
I think we're good to go. So
I'm gonna say bye again. I'm gonna dip out and leave it to you because you're the experts. I know nothing about rotary attachments.
thanks, Sean.
Okay, good luck. Take care.
Thanks, Sean.
Cheers, guys. Brian, you're staying on screen. These going as well. Fantastic. See you later, Brian. Chris, I think are you good to go? Do you need to move around cameras and?
Yeah, so I think we've got a little bit of an introduction to do. So I've just got to start I've got a water bottle just to run straight away here. Hopefully we can see that.
So we're going to jump straight into a live demo here, guys, so you can see the rotary attachment straight in action. So it's nice and quick, nice and easy. And what I'll do is I'll bring this up on screen as well so you can see us a little bit better. So as you can see here, the laser head moves back and forth, left and right across the product. And what we're going to use here is the rotary attachment to rotate the bottle as it goes round. So we're staying in focus on that top point as we go round. So just a quick overview of the rotary attachment itself. So the rotary attachment is a separate product that goes into the machine. It lies flat on the laser bed. So the engraving bed on the bottom of the machine. This goes in. We then plug that into the side of the machine. So the most important thing when we're using the rotary attachment is to make sure we switch the machine off before plugging it in. So what the rotary attachment does is actually take over our Y movement. So the Y-axis movement actually goes into the rotary attachment turning. So most important thing, turn that machine off, then we plug it into the side panel, and then we can go into the turn it back on and focus the machine. So from here, sorry, Chris, jump in.
I was just going to say the same as when we want to take the rotary attachment out, we need to turn the machine off, then take the rotary attachment out. Yes,
exactly. Most important part when we're plugging in, plugging out, that machine is overriding that Y-axis. So we don't want to blow any boards or anything like that on the side panels. So obviously really important that we get in there and turn that machine off. So I've lost my train of thought already. There we go. So obviously, what I was saying is head position obviously straight into when we switch back on. Rotary attachment will come into play, and the laser head will automatically go straight into the center point of that rotary attachment. So what we're going to do is use the live feedback, which we're showing a little bit with Chris in a demo, of using that red dot pointer to find our center point of the rotary on our product, and then we'll let the machine do its thing as it rotates around. So once we run through on this one, what we're also going to do is run through a couple of live demos and go through a few application products and bits and pieces. So straight in, Chris, we've got a question here from the Edinburgh Craft Studio. Any top tips on getting the water bottle in straight first time? We find it a bit of a fiddle.
Yeah, I suppose it can be, depending on the size of the water bottle. I'll take this one out, seeing as it's finished there, and just hopefully you'll be able to see on the camera there. So we'll show the engraving first, straight off. We don't need to clean that. That's fine. Obviously, put that back in. I just find that sometimes with a bit of, if you use these every day or anything like that, a bit of experience, we just need to make sure that's nice and secure by making sure that we have, if we can just see some springs here, that we make sure that's strongly compressed versus not compressed. If that's very compressed there, I normally find that's enough just to get it nice and straight, to be honest with you. Just make that in, lock that off, and that works for me.
Yeah, brilliant, Chris. I mean, that's probably a good point to note here is the attachments. So also we're using a cone attachment here. So we've got the convex and concave cones on the machine. So we also do a range of other attachments as well. So we do a chuck adapter for holding lots of smaller items, or like 3-jaw chucks. There we go, Chris has got it there, which will give you another option. Or we do a roller as well. So for slightly bigger things or for really small items, what we find is the rollers actually work a lot better, a lot easier to place onto the product. So a nice and easy changeover. And Chris will be changing one later on, so we can show you the process, quick and easy changeover on those cones.
Yes, definitely.
So let's just take you back out of that one. Let's bring us back into screen here, and I'm just going to share my screen quickly, just to show you a few products here that we can talk about. So hopefully now you can see on screen my PowerPoint. So a quick run through. Obviously the introduction we've gone through, so the demo we wanted to go through, and then we're going to go through a couple of product ideas here, then a step-by-step process from start to finish. So as we go through, guys, please continue as we need. I keep saying, chuck your questions into the chat. I will try and pick up a few as we go through. Alternatively, I've got the Q&A towards the end of the session as well. So just go through to some product ideas here. So obviously the most popular one, and the one that probably most people talk about, is glasses. It's probably the biggest one that we get through. Personalization, obviously a variation of various glasses, from wine glasses to pint glasses, to standard tumblers. Also into things like glass bottles. So it's also possible to do things like wine bottles, champagne bottles, with the liquid and everything still inside. It's perfectly safe. So we're just working with very surface marking the glass itself. And then also as we go through to cups and mugs, travel mugs, and obviously probably the most popular thing in the last 12 months or so is the water bottles. And obviously we've released our own range now. It's available on our web shop, all the girls in the office.
It's very easy to engrave, as we've just seen.
Yeah, nice and simple setup. We get a real nice clear contrast with the water bottles, which I think makes it life a lot easier with the laser machines. So also on there, you've got things like rolling pins, or like your wooden cylindrical items, things like pens. I see obviously a lot of applications with pens. Really depends on what you're looking for. So we see a lot of customers who will engrave flat on the bed. So just engraving sort of along the surface of a pen. So if I've got one here. So hopefully you can see this. And basically what we'll do is we'll do one line down the center. At that point, you can jig it up and do multiples across the bed. What we can do with the rotary attachment is obviously using the chuck adapter, like we've got on the picture there, is to actually rotate around the pen and do the full circumference as well. So it gives us an extra option for lasering pens. And obviously things there, you can see things like the aluminium or plastic tubing. So all our flatbed machines, which we're running with today, we can obviously have with the speedy range CO2 or fibre. As this has been brought up, we've got the webinar coming through later on tomorrow morning with CO2 versus fibre with myself and Andy over in Guildford. So we'll go through a bit more detail in that. But what it allows us to do is obviously it also allows us with the rotary attachment to be able to use both sources, to be able to do your more engineering tooly kind of products where you see drill bits and and part numbers and serialization and things as well. So lots and lots of various different applications and different products. Also got there is rings, which may stand out to a lot of you for the jewellery side of things. So we've got another demo again with Johnny and Andy Dudley. That's on Thursday morning, which we're running through a Galvo session. So we're using the Galvo session. We'll be rotating a ring, doing the inside and the outside of a ring. So a really interesting one to run through there. All today's, myself and Chris today will be run through on flatbed rotary attachments. Is there anything else on that, Chris, you can think of, or any segments you think of that were maybe probably bigger?
I think we've covered quite a few. Anyone else wants to give us a shout out, feel free. What else do you use it for? Like you mentioned before, glasses and water bottles are the biggest thing at this moment in time. We've got a picture of a drill bit there. Ideally, someone would probably mark them with a jig in the machine flat. However, the rotary attachment with the different chuck adapters can grip hold of that, and we can mark that all the way around.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. I've got a quick question here as well from Les. So just saying, is the rotary attachment available on the Speedy 100?
Yes.
So, yes, it is. We do a rotary attachment for all of our range, from the Rage at 50 to the Speedy range, from Speedy 100 up to Speedy 500. Do a rotary attachment for all of those. So certainly available, and it's something that can be purchased at the point of ordering a machine, or it can be done as a separate later on. So also quickly here, we've got another one from Mark. Thanks for the question, Mark. What is the smallest diameter and length of the item you can engrave in a rotary attachment? For instance, could you put a disc in, say, 30 mil diameter by 10 mil height?
Yeah, I would have said so. We'd have to see it just to check. I mean, when you say height, is it a cylindrical item that's got a 30 mil diameter and 10 mil height? Obviously, we'd turn that on its side. If we can use a chuck adapter on either side, and we can engrave that, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's just understanding the part there, Mark. But again, if you wanted to test it, more than happy to get in contact with us, and the local sales guy can run through for samples and stuff with you. But certainly, yeah, with the different attachments, it's just understanding exactly what you were looking to do, and obviously working with the right attachments for each of these rotary attachments. So running through, Chris, if we want to jump on and we'll run through for a demo, shall we, and have a look through the whole process. Let me just stop sharing my screen and let's bring you back in.
So yes, I just wanted to show my other camera on the screen here, so we can see an overview of how I've got this laid out in the machine. So we're going to run through a glass engraving. So here we have the rotary attachment sitting on the bed. It's fixed in by its own weight. It can be pulled out any time. It just sits on the rulers of the bed. So there's two ways of, I've got our glass here. There's two ways of engraving glass. We could put that straight in to the laser and engrave on the top of it. However, what I find, and a lot of us find, is that if we use a generic wet paper towel, we wetten that quite a bit. It gives us a better finish. My rudimentary explanation is when we laser glass straight off without any wet paper towel, it tends to break the shards, and the shards break up a little bit, and this sticks up on the surface, and it can look a little bit patchy. If we put a wet paper towel on top of it, the shards tend to break up, cool down, and form on the top of the surface, and it gives you that nice frosted finish, in my opinion anyway. So I'm just going to share my screen just to show you some artwork first of all.
Yeah, great explanation there, Chris. So the other things is we can look at with the wet paper tissue, or my understanding as well. So from my side, I think it also works similar to a lot of guys who use or engrave wood or use masking tape. So using that wet paper towel just sits on the surface. So when we're engraving the glass, those fragmented or vaporized products that we're taking away actually sit back onto the wet paper towel. So rather than going back onto the glass, and where, like Chris said, the heating it re-welds itself, so you end up with a real scratchy sort of rough surface, whereas with the wet paper towel just allows us to get a real smooth finish and like to get a much more frosted finish. So lots and lots of different techniques with engraving glass. I think most people have various different options as well. Yeah.
Can you see my CorelDRAW screen there, Jimmy?
We can't, mate. We're currently on your camera screen at the moment.
Okay.
Still see the
just
So as Chris just runs through, so Mark's just saying he thinks it's like a ring demonstration. We'll show this a bit better. So yeah, I said Thursday morning with Johnny and Andy. They're going to run through this with it.
Yeah, I take it you can see that now, yeah?
Yeah, that's perfect, Chris.
Brilliant, yeah. So here I've just took me and Jimmy, you've got young kids, and it's something my little boy is very fond of, Fortnite. So I just took I Googled Fortnite, I grabbed an image, I've just imported it into CorelDRAW. I have outline traced that. I have used a very, very common phrase, "that guy is hacking." I find that quite funny. It's brilliant to listen
to. Gets said probably at least every hour in my house.
Yeah. So obviously we're just engraving this image. We've got, we're not selling the product or anything like that. So once we've got our image, we've got our line of text or whatever it may be. Let's just proportion it up to size-wise. Here I've got 111.5 in width-wise and 80 millimeters high, just to cover the amount of coverage I want on the glass. So it gets a nice, it's not all the way around, but it's a good 2/3 of the way around. So you can see that. So I'm going to highlight what I want here. I've got the diagram right in the middle of the page. Very simple. I press print. I want our selection. I'm going to press preferences. I've got rotary attachment ticked from the previous water bottle that we did. For this glass, I'm going to change the diameter to 70 mil. And then I'm also going to change our material setting here that we've predetermined for the Speedy 300, 100% power, 50% speed. So we'll click OK. And every other setting can stay the same. Job control button we press, and then we press print, and that should then drop it into our, just rename that file, we'll put in glass. That will drop into our job queue here. Just going to drag and drop the glass over to the plate. Just move that out of the way here. This image here is the rotary attachment. It's for illustration purposes only. It shows that this job is going to be a rotary attachment job. This is our live feedback of our laser head, so we'll adjust that in a second, and we'll adjust the artwork to suit. So let's just pop over to my, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here and change camera. Just choose the right one. There we go. So like I said,
sorry, Chris, just jump in there. So obviously the most important thing here is to understand that we need to know the diameter of the glass before we start. And like I said, with the preset settings in there, it's just working the right settings for each one. But diameter obviously just allows us the rotary attachment to understand how quickly to turn that glass as not to stretch or compress the image. So if you've got a slightly bigger image on the glass, if you find that it's being stretched or compressed in either way, what you'll probably find is you haven't quite got the right diameter of the glass selected in the job control setting.
That's exactly right. Yes, yeah. So I'm just going to show you. I've got the glass here. I haven't wet the paper yet, so I will just use a sprayer picked up from a local hardware shop. I'll just spray the wet paper towel, get that nice and mildly moist.
So again, the wet tissue here is also just keeping it onto the glass. So what we're finding is with the heat imposed in by the laser, we just want to make sure that that tissue doesn't give us any problems in terms of flaming or anything like that. So we've got it nice and wet, we're literally trying to soak it. And obviously, Chris, I find is the ones that the paper towels that Chris is using, just normal household kind of paper towels that you find in service toilets and things like that, just for washing hands.
Yeah, so I'm just going to position that, eyeball that. I've predetermined, obviously I've run the file before. I'm just going to put that in the middle here. I'll show you on the red dot pointer on the rolling pin that we're going to do, but we can probably see that.
You're still on the large screen window here, Chris.
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, I'll change the camera. I'll change the camera here. Nope. We'll run it off that camera at the time being. My computer seems to be doing something. So yeah, so if we can see that, I've got a red dot pointer here. I've eyeballed, put it right in the middle, and then we'll set that away in a second. So
okay, so just also run through the paper towel. Obviously, like we covered with Chris here, we're trying to use the glass as flat as possible to keep that focal point. So what will obviously be very, very popular is things like wine glasses or gym glasses, especially at the moment. It's understanding where the artwork needs to go. Now, it's nice and easy. We're trying to set it up as easy as we can here for you today to make it as simple as possible. But what we really need to understand is where your artwork's going to go on those glasses. It's been a really, really good online video from our friends over in Canada. So big shout out to Mike in Canada. It's a great video that he's done recently for in-depth training, basically on a rotary attachment. And he goes into detail about understanding exactly where those glass or those images need to go on the glass and what glasses to use. So you can have a range of glasses. What I find is that as the taper on the glass, or the bigger the taper, the smaller the work area you really get to use.
Sorry to interrupt, Jamie. I'm just going to set that away because my Chrome browser seems to be not responding, so I can't change my screen to the internal one. But I'll set that away so at least you can see what it's going to do here.
Nightmare. No problem, Chris. Technical issues always going to jump in at some point. Just proves we're live.
It does, yeah.
we can see the full machine running here back and forth. So yeah, just going back to it, I've got so I brought a wine glass with me here. So as you can see with the wine glass, as we see this taper, what we need to understand is obviously we don't want to be too close to the lip of the glass, because obviously people are going to be drinking out of these, so they don't want to be feeling that sort of engraved area on their lips when they're drinking. But also what we've got is the bigger the taper, is getting that glass as flat as possible to make sure that we stay in focus. So as we run out of focus off the flat, what you find is you'll get a different finish, and that's not just with glass, that's with every product with the laser. Obviously we want the laser to be in perfect focus. So understanding how big that artwork needs to be, and what we can do with the sort of the Speedy 300, Speedy 400, Speedy 500, and Speedy 360, sorry, is have a tilt feature on the rotary attachment. So once this was finished, Chris can just do a quick show the tilt feature. But what it allows us to do is actually rotate or move the rotary attachment to lift the product to try and get that edge of the glass nice and flat. So again, if you're looking at rotary attachments, get in contact with us, speak to your local rep, just explain what you'd like to do, what you want to do, and we can go into a bit more detail of understanding it. But like I said, have a quick look over on Trotec Canada's YouTube. Mike did a great one there. It's named as In-Depth Training, Rotary Training. It really goes into detail of the various glasses, understanding the height of the artwork, and I'm running the machine here. So hopefully, as you can see this going through, now we can rotate this glass round. We're going through the wet paper, or the wet tissue there, and marking onto the surface of the glass itself.
Yeah, so this should give us a nice frosted white finish. What I'm going to try is I'm going to use a little bit of rub and buff. If anyone else has used that, please comment. Just to give a bit of a colour change to the text. I did try it on the logo previously, but I think personally it's a little bit too big an area to cover all at once, or maybe I'm not just off way with the product. But I'll just quickly show you how we can maybe make the text look a little bit differently, maybe added a bit of value to the product.
Excellent, yeah, Chris, that's there's a lot of people that like to put colour into it, and this is a great product, and nice and simple process as well. So just a quick question that's jumped in there from Alpha McKay. Thanks for the question there. What's the best paper to use? Really, my personal experience, I don't think there is a better or a worse paper as such. Like I said, we use the sort of hand towels, hand tissues. What I find is if you're using sort of toilet tissues, it's very soft, it's very easy to break up when we get it wet, so we want something that's going to hold its structure. I know a lot of guys who have used things like newspaper, again, it's getting it nice and wet, and I think even worse, so Trev, who was on earlier, has used wallpaper paste. It's just finding something to be a layer effectively between the glass and the laser.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I've known people who've used newspaper before. If you get a lot of black, say if there was a black image on there or a photograph, customers have told me that has come out in the laser engraving. I haven't experienced it, but we just use a generic green paper towel that you find in any sort of
yes, your normal sort of hardware stores. Yeah, exactly. So your normal sort of hand towels that you use in restrooms. But also, I've seen guys just put the link in the bio there for the chat for the rotary attachment training that I mentioned with Mike. So feel free to go and watch that after the webinar's finished. And there we go. Got a nice close up there, Chris. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a clean, and then we'll just add a little bit of rub and buff to that, just to show you maybe something that we can add a little bit of value to.
Yeah. So just to explain, also the rub and buff is just a paint. Effectively, it's a metallic style paint. It's not a product of ours. It's just one that we found on the market. That works really well with infilling onto the paint. So nice and simple process. There it is there. So Chris has got a gold version here, and I do a variation of colours.
Yeah, so this is the tricky bit. What I'll normally do is I'll put a little bit on my finger, just quickly show you. So we've just got a bit of a gold paint there. Can we see that, Jamie?
Yeah, perfect, mate.
Yeah.
See that.
So I'm just going to literally rub that across very, very quickly, and then straight off. And that tends to add. Can we see that at all?
It's a little bit lower for us there, Chris.
A little bit lower.
So that's it. So there you can see just a little colour change into it. Also, it's a bit harder to see with the clear background. But
it does look a bit better with it in the flesh, or maybe with a nice drink in there.
Yeah, real nice standout. Just gives it something a little bit extra to your standard sort of glass engraving products, which is what it's all about.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm struggling to change my screen here, Jamie. So we'll just run through whatever you've got next, and I'll run the rolling pin as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So well, we'll go back to also a couple of those applications there with the glass engraving. Chris is also going to go through as a rolling pin here. So with the rolling pin, what we're looking to do is show you the engraving of the full circumference. So obviously you get lots of nice and easy, simple sort of text and logos and stuff. So this again, just giving it something a little bit different and being able to engrave around the whole product. So this is what we're going to do here is just change over the cones. So just to show you a nice simple process. So he's just put it into standard standby mode there with the machine. And it's just going to basically unlock the locking nut that holds the cone and unscrew that cone. So always get this the wrong way around. So concave one has come off and convex one going on.
That's right.
So
yes.
this also just to hold the different applications. So with the rolling pin here, what we don't want to do is have the concave over the edges of the rolling pin, because we're going to lose area of engraving space. So what we've done is put the two convex cones on, just so we can hold the very, very edge or the tips of the rolling pin.
Yeah.
So nice and simple. Like I said, just put locking nut and the two spanners that Chris used there come in part of the toolboxes with your laser machines.
Yes, yeah. So what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to take the air assist cone off the bottom. The reason being is that I do want to engrave the full length of the rolling pin, and we do get a little bit of overrun, which you could touch the cones there, and it will just put the machine into a standby mode. It'll just turn off once the head hits something. So we just want to take that cone off just to stop that hitting on either side here. So let me just let me focus the machine for us. So we've got our focus tool here that hangs on the side, and we just gently bring the bed into focus, nudging up just till it falls off there. We'll put that somewhere safe out the way. Can we all see that?
Yeah, that's perfect, Chris. So obviously, just to say, also with the rotary attachment, we will need to manually focus. So we do have autofocus in the machines. But what you'll find is the autofocus runs across the back of the machine. So also the rotary attachment will be in the way for the autofocus. So it's always a manual focus, which is nice and simple with our machines. The little tool that just sits on the side of the head there.
Definitely, yes. I'm just positioning this. What I did previously was I put a mark in the middle of the rolling pin, just with a slight little pencil mark, just so I know where to eyeball the red dot pointer, which I showed you previously. So that's where that's located, and I'm just going to roll the pin into place and just drop my artwork into the middle of it. There we go. Can we all see that?
Yeah, so you've got the machine on screen. Obviously, what we've got, unfortunately, Chris can't show is the software there. Is that live feedback with the red dot pointer, shows the crosshair on screen, so we can pinpoint the starting position, snap our job onto that cursor, and then we can press play with the machine. So there we go, straight across. Now we can see it running from end to end. Now, obviously, we're doing the full circumference. It's going to take a little bit of time. What estimate time we've got on that one, Chris?
Let me have a look here for you now. 7 minutes 58.
7 minutes 58 to do the full circumference. Unfortunately, with Chris not being able to share his screen there, we can't see the artwork, but hopefully as you see that run round, there's also quite a lot of text that we're going to emboss into this. So as this runs through, we'll keep this one running. What I'm going to do now is just pop you through to a screen share of myself. Back onto our PowerPoint. Hopefully that one picks up there. So we're going to keep that one running in the background so you can see the rolling pin run through. And just while that one runs, we're just going to go through a quick return on investment for you. It's just understanding the rotary attachment. So the cost of the glass that Chris was running earlier, just 70p. We've got an operating wage cost there, which is national wage limit that bits off the internet earlier. So just obviously have to put your own into that one.
Are we frozen there, Jamie? It might just be myself on this. So Jamie does have a little bit of a presentation to run. hopefully he'll be able to come back into this and show us.
Have you lost me here, Chris?
So we just got a quick question here from Adam that they've used rub and buff before. It is hand washable. Do you mean by that is hand washable with the glass? Does it come off? Like I said, I've had very, very little experience with it personally.
So, Chris, have you got me back?
Also, Mark has commented here that gliding wax is apparently very good too. Again, never used it. Not much experience with that at all. I've done a few items in the showroom here.
Jamie,
oh, we're back, Jamie.
I think Chris's headset might be broken, so I'm going to give him a call. I'm going to disappear, but you carry on.
Okay. So I think, yeah, there we go. Chris is, we've lost Chris a little bit there, a bit of confusion. So just, I'll mute him there so we don't get interrupted. So just jumping back to our screen share. So I'll jump back into mine. Apologies for the technical issues here. So back into our return on investment. Obviously, we got their operating costs. Then you've got the time to engrave as well. So obviously on our glass there, we took 2 minutes. So we've got total cost really there of 99 pence. Now I've had a quick look on, again, taking it from Etsy as a general selling price here of £12, which gives us a full profit there of £11 per glass. Obviously, with Rotary Attachments, then it's just working out how many glasses that you need to do to pay back on your Rotary. So I've given you an estimated cost there of a Speedy 300 Rotary attachment at £2,000. So that works out at 181 glasses there that you need to process. What I'll do as well, if I just jump in and hide this one out of the way. So 181 glasses that you need to run. To get the payback on your Rotary attachment. So obviously, number of glasses, we then need to work out how long that's going to take you. So we've worked out there 182 glasses at 2 minutes. It's going to take you 362 minutes. So obviously per hour, we work out at 6 hours to pay back on that Rotary attachment. So pretty much just under a day's work, and you pay back on your Rotary attachment. So nice, easy, simple, quick payback on your laser there. So I've got a couple of other questions that have jumped in as we go through. So if I really just stop my share, hopefully we get Chris back. Hi, Chris, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yes, quick restart to Chrome, and we're back.
What a nightmare. Internet issues always going to be a problem on these live events. So good to have you back, Chris. So as you see, as the rolling pin keeps running through, just as I said, we've got a couple of extra ones here running through. So I'm not sure how far you got with these, Chris. But we've got one from Mark saying gliding wax apparently very good too. There's a nice little tip there for the glass engraving. So look at that. Obviously with the rub and buff, it can be washed, but it's not dishwasher safe. So nice and easy for hand washing. I've got on here, Chris, as well from Adam. What paint to use? What after wash glass color stay? So we've used rub and buff that we find is a good product for this sort of thing, for the glass engraving. There's lots of others for various other applications. So you've got things like acrylic paints, as well for things like acrylic, obviously acrylics, your woods, and things like that as well. So it really varies into what you're looking to do. Again, with different products, and what we find is the glass is the one that most people, which goes right onto glass, you get that nice frosted effect. Find a lot of people are still sandblasting, just trying to replicate that sort of sandblast finish. But with the laser machine, so a much quicker process than sandblasting.
Although people do make the stencils from the laser to use for sandblasting, because we can get a lot more cut detail in that to make the stencil much better than a hand cut.
Yeah, exactly, Chris. Chris, are you able to share your screen now? Are we back in?
Yeah, let me pop into the middle. I do need to adjust it, so I will adjust it once it's finished, so we can see that.
So good, if you just share your screen for us, man. Just show us the artwork for this rolling pin. Go back a little step.
Yeah, let's have a look here now. So here we are. So can we see the CorelDRAW screen, everybody?
Yep, we've got it there, Chris. Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, so this is our artwork here. I just grabbed it off a Google website. Copied and pasted it into CorelDRAW. Didn't really have to do a lot of work to it. The only thing I have done is inverted it once we've went from Coral Draw to job control. The reason for that is I didn't want all the background engraved here. It takes about 20 minutes, the file does. I have tested it, and we just wanted something nice and quick today, just to show the all-round engrave. So to run through what we would do is I have a diameter here of 40 mil, and I've worked out the circumference and what area we need. Job control will do this for us as well. So if I went to print that, for example, I've got our selection picked. I'll pop into our preferences. If I clicked into our rotary attachment and we did click 40 mil, it tells us our circumference 125.66. So I have popped that in here for our width. Our height of the item is 320, but we don't want to engrave the full 320. We want to give it a mil each side. So our artwork here, if we can see that, I've just listed the artwork at 318 mil high. Then as I've showed you, we highlight the item, the artwork, press print. We click our rotary attachment, 40 mil. We would choose our different settings for our rolling pin. Here I'm running 100% power, 100% speed. This is a Speedy 380 watt. I'm going to keep our air assist on because we are engraving wood, and I have taken that cone off the bottom of the nozzle there to protect the lens, so we're going to keep the air assist on. We would go OK and then press our JC button and then press print, and that would then pop into it would ask us to rename our file.
Yes, this window, like this job identification window, just pops up. We can set that to happen, or we can disable it effectively. So it just allows us to put a name to our jobs as we send them across into our job queue, which is obviously nice and easy. Then, if you've got stock items, you just run it from the job queue all the time on the right-hand side, rather than constantly running back and forth from Coral Draw. So also quick to note there, Chris, when your graphic was in sort of portrait mode, when we send it over to job control, it will automatically rotate it 90 degrees. So again, another thing to work out with the glasses, when we're putting our glasses into the rotary attachment, your rotary attachment goes out to the right-hand side. Your artwork, make sure when it rotates that you've got the top of the right side. So it might be that when you're in your artwork process, you just need to flip your artwork 180 degrees. So when it does do that 90-degree turn, it's the right way up. So just remember which way around your glass fits into the rotary attachment. And there we go, we've got our rolling pin. That's perfect, Chris. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Highlight this one and just give you a bit more full layout. Sorry, mate. I've taken off screen there.
Yep.
There we go, just so people can see that. So,
yeah.
Again, as the guy said earlier, with variations of lasers and different settings, we can get different finishes onto the wood products, especially. Glass tends to be sort of one setting. So a couple of other questions that dropped in. So I'm guessing our time's coming in quickly with Brian joining us. Thanks for coming in, Brian.
Your time is indeed coming in, I'm afraid. It's a couple of minutes as well. So if there's any questions you want to answer quickly, I've seen there's one from Paul.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, so great question from Paul there. Also with the laser, is there anywhere? It really depends on the Speedy. The front door panel tends to work quite well. So on the Speed 300 that Chris is using here, we've got the easy access to the front drop-down panel. So we can actually feed the camera cable in between. The same with the Speedy 100. Those sort of great lines that you've got at the top of the cabinet there actually just about fits through the USB connection. So we can wing it through there. The same with sort of 400 as well, 360. So Paul, if you let us know which machine you've got, we can help you out there. But effectively, that door panel, just open the door panel, and the cables tend to slide in and out. So just remember to make sure that the camera stays well away from any laser processing. So remember, where most of our laser tubes will come from the right-hand side. So just make sure that the camera's not in the way of the laser head. We don't want any accidents going on.
Camera, absolutely. Right, Graham's asked a question, but we'll get Andy to send him a quote for a rotary attachment. And you've just got one more question at the bottom. Will the rotary work well with a Speedy 160 watt 2-inch lens with 60 engraving bottle? Guys,
straightforward answer. Very simple, yes. Yeah, as we mentioned before, we do the rotary from the Rayjet 50 all the way up to the Speedy 500 or the SP 500. Rotary attachment is available for the 100 and will work perfectly for what you need.
Perfect.
So, Will, sorry, Brian, just a quick note on that with the Speedy 100 is we don't have the tilt feature on the 100. So with the 100, really need to make sure that the product is nice and flat, like we've been doing in today's demo. Any sort of tapering will just make it a little bit more difficult. So we might need to look at jigs and things to hold the rotary attachment. But again, speak to your local rep, and we can help you out and give you some pointers on what we can do.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Great presentation. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope everybody watching did as well. We're now going to take a 2-hour break, and we'll be back at 2 o'clock, where it'll be myself and Ben from Blue Star Leasing, where we're going to approach the slightly less sexy topic of financing laser machines, followed by our photographic engraving masterclass with Alex Beckingham. And then last on today at 3:20, we'll have a Q&A session with our customer Hannah Nunn, which we're all looking forward to. She makes some fabulous stuff. So that'll be really, really good to have a chat with her. So in the email that you received this morning, you should have a separate link for this afternoon's sessions. And there's links. You should be able to see links at the bottom of your YouTube page as well. So join us again this afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody then. Great job, fellas.
Yep. No, thanks
a lot, guys. Thanks for joining, everyone. See you soon.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye.